Healthy
We've been
Gums.
telling you about, this innovation whereby you can have information in your pocket on the go, and it doesn't require you to stop or remember. I think one of the most vivid things that we had was when we had David and Dee in the studio, and he said, look, I have a Microsoft Word page of 100 odd links that I keep adding to and say I want to be able to come back and read later. Well, the thing is that technology allows us to do this later and store information, but we're going to be talking about the impact of such technology on us. And joining us in the studio this morning is Dr. Njoki Chege, who is the Director Innovation Center at the Aga Khan University. Daktari, good morning.
Good morning, Du. It's nice to see you. It's nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Karibu sana to Kenya's biggest conversation. You're seated in the hot seat today.
Yes.
And it's good to see you and welcome as we have this conversation. We've been talking about Pocket by Mozilla.
Yeah.
And Pocket by Mozilla represents technology. It represents options. It represents, availability to having information on the go. Can you give us a general insight into what this presents and what this really does then mean?
So Pocket is an app by Mozilla. Mozilla is actually one of our technology partners at the Innovation Center at the Aga Khan University. So Pocket basically allows users to save content for later reading or watching. So it's sort of like a read it later, watch it later kind of app. It was acquired by Mozilla a couple of years ago in 2017 and has over the years attracted millions of users who want to have a curated experience on the internet because we realize that the internet can be a very chaotic place. And sometimes getting the good content and sifting the good from the bad becomes very difficult. Like your friend has this, Microsoft Word document that where he pastes all these interesting links that he wants to come back to later. Pocket allows you to do exactly that. So if you're over the internet and you discover an interesting article, but you don't have the time to come back and read it later, then Pocket is exactly the app for you. And it's been very interesting because you can even save Twitter threads, you can save YouTube videos, you can save just about anything and also get to see what other people are saving because that's the beauty of Pocket. It lets you know the best from the web. It lets you know people around you are saving this, maybe you might be interested in this, and it's actually very high quality content. It's basically the internet curated specifically for you.
We're also looking at Kenyan content creators as well.
Yes.
And if we're looking now, delving into the world of the arts, and saying these are revenue streams, this is content creation, this is career path for quite a number of Kenyan content creators. What does then that portend for them? What does it mean? What kind of things are you able to imagine by just having this, where then you can upload your content for consumers?
I think Pocket will be the best thing to ever happen to Kenyan content creators. So we are working with Pocket from Aga Khan University. We're working with Pocket to curate Kenyan content and ensure that Kenyan content is on Mozilla. So the beauty of Pocket is that you can get content from across the world. So we have Japanese content creators or even content curators accessing content from Africa. And this is a time for Kenyan content creators to put their content out there. So basically what this means is that if you're a Kenyan content creator, there's a very high chance and there's a very big opportunity for you to have your content on Pocket. And how we are doing this is through putting together a team of content curators who are going to be curating content, putting together collections of interesting content, interesting topics, maybe around elections, around health and education and agriculture and all that, and using Kenyan content to speak to that kind of to those kinds of topics. So this is a really good thing, and it's the best thing that ever happened to Kenyan content creators.
Who can be on the platform? And I think, even as you hear this and you think of it, who can be? Because if you look at the internet now, it doesn't preclude anybody. Babies have content, yes. Fostered by their parents, younger people, older people. octogenarians have content on the internet. So who does this then give space to operate?
So there's something for everyone in Pocket. Pocket can be used for parents to save content that they want their children to read later. Young people can have, Pocket accounts and save their own content. So basically, Pocket is for everyone. And especially from a content creator perspective, as long as your content is high quality content, as long as your content is good, as long as it speaks to the topics that Africans care about, then you are definitely, a candidate for being on Pocket. And I think the one thing that I want to encourage here is the use of Pocket as a bookmarking service or app. Mm-hmm. So if you go through, you can download it on your phone, you can have it on your laptop. So if you're having something that you need to read much later, I think Pocket is the place that you need to save it. So Pocket is for everyone because it's something for everyone in Pocket.
Mm. So is it like a digital museum?
I wouldn't call it a museum. I would call it like your personal digital library. So you have all this interesting content that you're reading. Maybe you don't have the time to finish reading it. So you can just save it to Pocket and then you come back later and find it and read it and even share it with your friends. It's a very sort of interesting service that even recommends interesting content based on your interests. So maybe if you're interested in politics or the arts and whatever it is that you like, Pocket will recommend specific content that speaks to those topics that you like. I wouldn't call it exactly a museum, really.
Is it a paid service or an app?
So it's an app, but then it's also accessible on your, on the web from your laptop.
Is it subscription or just an app?
It's a bit of both. Okay. So most people use it for free, but there's also a subscription option where it has different advantages. But most people actually use it for free. Yes, it's a free app. Yeah.
And I've had this problem before. I don't know if it's the same. There are times of saved links.
Yes.
Then the link has expired. I've come back later.
Yes, and you're told you cannot now access this content that you saved.
Does Pocket have a facility for ensuring it archives? For example, like I have a lot of links to PDFs, like documents from the past. I didn't want to download them, but I come back to them. Then they're moved. So does it have something of a repository for documentation?
Yes, it has, but as long as the original content creator still has that content when you're accessing it, then Pocket is able to help you access it. Yeah.
That's why I call it a museum.
I wouldn't call it that. I would call it like my personal library. Yeah.
Okay. I want to, looking at now what Kenyan content creators then would be able to access, what Kenyan content creators then will be able to do. What does it present or what does it represent in terms of career for them, in terms of income generation for them? Because it looks, we're in an age whereby, so many people are, on YouTube, on TikTok, one of CT's favorite apps. So many things happening on a regular basis. What does it do then for them as an option for them to be able to, if their content is there, is it an income, generation stream for them?
Yes, like I said earlier on, Pocket is a really good tool for Kenyan content creators in the sense that for the first time, Kenyan content is going to be on the international stage. It's going to be read across the world. It's going to be included in newsletters that are going to the UK, the US, Canada, and across the world. And the one thing that publishers across the world appreciate about Pocket is the fact that it has proven to drive some serious traffic to their websites. It has proven to improve the audience quality, even sometimes the audience quality, bring in the actual audiences that they need, because the people on Pocket are serious people. There are people who are very serious about content consumption. There are people who there's a difference between liking something and saving it. If you like something, you just like it. But if you save it for later, it means that you want to interact with that content much deeply, much later. You might forget, but most of the time you will remember. So for Kenyan content creators, this is an opportunity for the audiences to intimately interact with their content, to understand even audience habits and all that, because Pocket has some interesting statistics that they can share with publishers to show you this is what people are reading. So this is Kenyan content creators' time to have their content on the international stage.
You've actually just said that people who use other apps are not serious.
No, absolutely not. I didn't say that. You see, that's the problem with social media. If I say I love bananas, you will say, so what do you have against oranges? So, yeah.
I'm actually going by what you said, because you see, the thing about Pocket, whether we talk about Pocket every day here, right, is that it revolutionizes many things that people have been using, and it makes life that much simpler by coalescing very many things into this one little gadget that we're referring to as an app.
Yes.
Understood. But I have an issue with the word serious, because even when people are on
the one you like?
Yes, TikTok.
TikTok.
Or the other one, Erasmus.
Yes, Instagram.
Instagram, yes. Now, whichever of these apps that someone is on, they're on it because it serves a certain purpose for them.
Yes.
There are those who like YouTube. See, that one I know.
Well done.
Okay?
Well done.
Thank you. See? It serves a certain purpose for them. And so, indeed, what you're suggesting and what you're saying, yes, augments what they already have.
Yeah.
But for many of them, it doesn't supplant what they're already using. It's just that this one now is this other thing that you can have to ensure that whatever you have is made better.
Yes.
Not necessarily that it overtakes it completely.
Absolutely. Yes. And that's a good thing that I like about Pocket, because I can save a Twitter thread on my Pocket account. So I don't have to, send it to myself, or if I don't want to bookmark it, I can send it to myself. And also the good thing also about that is that for the content curators that we are using, because we have a team of content curators, they pick a topic and they do a collection on that particular topic. A collection is a series of stories, videos, Twitter threads, even Instagram videos, TikTok videos about a particular topic. So, and that's the beauty of Pocket, because it now allows you to integrate all the other social media apps that you're on and all the interesting content that you like, and you put it in one app that is Pocket.
Well, one of the things that, being old school in some of these things, I know I sound like an old fart, but just bear with me. Now, one of the things I found really interesting.
Everything you talk about, and you mentioned the word age, you drag me into that conversation.
Okay, I'll leave you out.
You can't leave me out.
Okay,
you've already dragged me into it, so just continue.
I think the club membership has already been established. So,
It's a club membership of old farts. Right?
Yes, so carry on. Yes.
One of the things that I've been really fascinated watching media, social media and technology, is a convergence of all the technologies towards unique identification. And it scares me. I mean, as an old fan, I'm allowed to. It scares because, I like what you're saying about Pocket, because we all have that problem. You surf YouTube and you go outside and say, but I want to come back. My poison is YouTube technology, especially heavy industry technology videos. So I spend my time watching on YouTube. So I said, I need to come back how to build how to iron cast an engine block, let's say. But I say, I've got something else I'm watching now. How do I do this? So what you're saying is I can, if I Pocket, I could say, okay, take that link, dump it into this wallet, for lack of a better word, and I can come back to it. But over time, what happens, and I can see the powerful attraction of Pocket to both marketers and others, technology companies, is over time I create a profile of myself, right? So, after a while, spend too much time watching technology videos, and watches them at this time. It has a timestamp. I spend my time, between 10 and 1 o'clock is on that sort of thing. So to my question, what is the security features around this thing so that it can't be hacked? Because that's really, after a while, a year of having something like that, it's very powerful information about the profile of a person.
Yeah, so that's a very interesting question, and I'm glad that you asked it, because Pocket is actually in the family of products within Mozilla. And if the things that Mozilla cares about is your security and your privacy, so you can be assured that your content is secure and it's private. But then also, the one thing I'd like to interest you in Pocket, beyond just saving content that you've seen on the internet, it also recommends content that like-minded content consumers such as yourself are reading. So if maybe you're interested in motoring, in the auto industry, Pocket will recommend stories and content around that area. And that's the beauty of it, because they use a term called algotorial, where it's a combination of algorithms and editorial. So it's not just bots saying you have to do this, you have to watch this and all that. There's also a human element where editors sit down and they realize, okay, this is what people are reading. Okay, so this fits Mr. Wahoro's profile. Can we interest him in that? And I think has been one of the key.
It flags on my app that these are the topics. So.
Exactly, and it also shows you what people like yourself are saving from the internet.
Oh, but anonymously.
But anonymously, obviously, yeah.
But is it encrypted so that do you have the freedom to share what I'm watching or not watching?
Yes.
So that Mr. Muga doesn't come and start talking about potatoes, and I'm not into potatoes.
If you want Mr. Muga to see what you've been saving, you can share a snippets of your profile with him. And if, of course, you don't want to see Mr. Muga anywhere on your timeline, you can just choose not to follow him, and then you will not see what he
But I can't watch and see what he's doing this, growing potatoes.
But why are you complicating it? Why didn't you just call me instead? So we will talk.
There you go.
That's an old-fashioned answer. It's practical. It works.
Oh my God! Do.
Sorry. But I'm to a serious point that and all these new apps that are coming up, they're clever beyond imagining. And so the issue of security becomes ever bigger. So, for example, if I set it up, do I have an encryption key? Do I have a way of making sure even Mozilla will have Mozilla.
You're thinking of cheese.
I'm already hungry. Yeah?
Think of cheese.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yes.
Okay. But so to that question about because the content, right, is generic, but I imagine because you're also creating your own content and putting it into the same place. So it's an asset. It's an asset online, an online asset, right? So what security features do I have so I can encrypt it? WhatsApp keeps telling us that they have their own encryption.
Yes.
So that basically even they themselves don't know, but they say they don't know, right? But also security.
So they say.
Yes, but yeah. Say that to the government, see if they'll give you a license to operate anyway. So what do you have a facility like that? Not so much. I'm sure it is safe. The content is safe. Yeah. But do I have control to make it safer, so that Mr. Muga can't spy on what I'm watching? Oh, actually, this is the second question. Does it have limitations? His eyebrows are present.
Because it's a Mozilla product, then you can be assured that it's 100% safe. I'm not a techie, so I cannot, wade into that conversation around encryption and all that. But the one thing that I can assure you, because Pocket is a product of Mozilla, then your content is safe. Nobody is, spying on you. Your data is not being misused or used for purposes that you're not clear about, so you can be assured that there's not somebody who's hovering over your content and figuring out what you're watching.
So what does it take what does it take to be a curator of content at for Pocket?
So anyone can be a curator of content for as long as you understand content consumption habits, for as long as you understand what makes good content, and as long as you are a good reader. I mean, if you're a voracious reader, then you make a very good content curator. So we've been working with a couple of content curators locally. They consist of journalists, content creators, bloggers, experts, and they pick topics that matter to them. And that's the good thing about this. They pick topics that speak to their hearts and now start creating collections around those topics. And the collections could include items like articles, videos, Twitter threads, maybe even a YouTube video, a TikTok video that speaks to that. But the main thing about Pocket that I'd like people to understand is that this is a very curated experience for you.
Right.
It's about high quality, high shelf life, evergreen content. So it's not the lowbrow kind of content, because sometimes I think we get lost in the internet. You get confused by all this, fake news and just stuff that doesn't help you. So if you're the kind of person that is interested in high quality content, content that can, help your and advance your courses and all that, then Pocket is for you. And I'm hoping to get content curators from this team.
Well, it'll be interesting to wait and see. Let's take a break at that point and take a look at weather and traffic, and then we come back and talk about a collection and what makes a great collection and who puts together a collection for you. Does Pocket do it for you based on your likes and interests, or can you say, look, I need some help to put this kind of a collection together, and then how will it benefit you? Pocket by Mozilla. We're talking with Dr. Njoki Chege this morning from the Aga Khan University, and really nifty stuff that we're talking about this morning, and asking ourselves the question, okay, taking that technological step onto better.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Continuing this conversation in terms of innovation and sustainability with Pocket by Mozilla. And just before we went to the break, Njoki, we're asking, so you talked about collections, we talked about curators and who can be a curator. And, over the break, CT's thinking about that seriously, about things that he can do to become a content curator. So you might want to have a chat with him after that. So what makes a great collection? What and who makes a great collection?
What makes a great collection, I think, is the items in the collection. First of all, the topic has to be very catchy. We're usually very particular about the topics that we create collections around. These have to be topics that, resonate with African audiences, East African audiences. And then secondly, the items that are within that topic have to be very catchy. And most importantly, like I said, and I cannot underscore this enough, is that the content has to be high quality, evergreen content that, I could save it today, maybe forget about it after a month, travel and come back, and then still find that content relevant. So those two things, the topic must be very catchy and the items in it must also be very relevant, high quality, evergreen kind of content. And also, I think it also has to be, I kind of like topics that, a bit playful, very interesting to read. There are those topics that are very serious, but for me, the collections that I like is something that has been on my mind for a very long time, and I never thought that, there's somebody who can do something on that. So those are the 2-3 things that make a great collection. We've seen some very interesting collections, actually. So there's one collection that is actually quite popular on the joy of missing out and how COVID sort of transformed the extroverts in us into introverts, because you're cooped up in your house, and then now when the world opens up, you're used to a particular kind of way, and then suddenly after COVID, you get happy when plans get cancelled, you get happy when people don't call you for plans and all that. So it's actually a very interesting topic, and they call it JOMO, the joy of missing out, because initially we had FOMO, the fear of missing out.
Yeah.
You want to be in every event, you want to be everywhere because you don't want to miss out. But now COVID sort of just transformed that into the joy of missing out. And those are some of the social ramifications of COVID that we never really talk about, how COVID impacted our personalities.
So what would go into this particular collection? So if you talk about, the fun of missing out and then the joy of missing out, what kinds of things would you find in this collection on Pocket? What are you looking at? Music, videos, articles? What would make up the collection?
So this is actually a collection that we already have on the Pocket app and Pocket website, and it was created by one of our really brilliant curators. Her name is Eunice Kilonzo, and so Eunice did a really good job, and she put in all these interesting stories. From the Wall Street Journal, I think there was a story from the New York Times, from even local content creators who are speaking and doing articles around this topic. And actually, I think there's some science about it. There was some research around it and all that. But a collection, let me say this again, a collection does not necessarily need to have articles in it. It can have a Twitter thread. I'm glad you mentioned music because one of our curators called James Kahonge, a very good journalist locally, he has done a collection on Kenya's enduring sound. He talks about Kenyan music and he talks about the history of Kenyan music. In that collection, he has included a YouTube video on the history of Kenyan music. He has included statistics from Spotify. He has included a Twitter thread on Kenyan music. So basically, if you want to understand, if you want to have an in-depth look on any topic, then a collection is what you need to be looking at. And even I think for curators, what I also learned is that the process of putting together a collection is actually a really good learning experience for them. So you don't have to be an expert on a particular area for you to do a collection. All you need is to have interest. And then you start populating that collection with relevant items ranging from podcasts, episodes, YouTube videos, Twitter threads, articles, just about anything, or even a link to a book, an online book, a PDF document, and all that. So it's a very interesting process.
I'm sure you've mentioned this, but I think it slipped my mind. Why did you say the Aga Khan University decided to partner with Mozilla?
Because the Aga Khan University has a Media Innovation Center that I run. The Media Innovation Center is part of the Graduate School of Media and Communications. And we came together with Mozilla because as the Innovation Center, we have the largest network of media innovators, content creators across Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. That's something else I forgot to mention. We also have a Nigerian and a Ugandan curator. So that is how the partnership came about, because Mozilla realized that Aga Khan University, specifically the Media Innovation Center, would be a good partner because of our networks with all these interesting content curators. So our role as the Innovation Center of the Aga Khan University is to bring together all these curators. So in essence, we are their content curation partners. Yeah.
Back on the subject of security.
Yeah.
Almost every media outlet claims that their content is secure. I am not an expert like you on these matters, but I go by what I read. Google, big name, big everything, was in the media for the longest time on this very same subject of security. But the matters went further because just the nature of that particular product and how people interact with it also involves collecting information about the individual. Now, it is not them alone who do this. No. Any app, it doesn't matter which app you want to talk about, given what they require of you, and just the process of interacting with you is actually a process of data collection. Just interaction, nothing nefarious. Now, the question that my friend here, he actually is my friend, Kenyans refer to the person they've just met as their friend. No, this man is actually my friend. We've known each other since we were young. And just to reiterate, we were still young. Oh, no, did I just say we were still young? No, we were old. The thing is, yes, you have stated and repeated that it is secure. Please, forgive my insistence, but just walk us through and explain how it is that this security you speak of is a reality that I can accept. In layman terms, not technical. Technical terms may confuse me.
Yes.
Just lay terms.
First of all, I'm not a techie.
No. That's
And
why I
I'm
asked you
not
to put this.
speaking on behalf of Mozilla. I'm speaking on behalf of the partnership between Aga Khan and Mozilla.
Right.
But I will answer your question.
Yes.
First of all, the most important thing, and I've said this several times, is that Pocket is owned by Mozilla. There's not a browser that we all know of that cares about your data than Mozilla and your security than Mozilla. They're not like those other, tech companies that I would not mention in this interview, but maybe somebody has mentioned them. So let me walk you through the process of getting Pocket. Let's say on your laptop. So first of all, the first thing is that if Firefox is not your main browser, then you need to make Firefox your main browser for the sole purpose that it protects you as a user, it protects your data, and it's not as predatory as all these other browsers. I'm just going to leave it there. And then when you go to Mozilla, when you go to Firefox, you Google Get Pocket. Yeah, you search Get Pocket. Then you will get Pocket. Yeah, and then you create an account. And once you create an account, it asks you what are some of the interests that you have, just so that they're able to recommend content from other people, other users like you have. And then you start the process of saving. The same goes to the app. You go to App Store or wherever you get your apps from and download Pocket, log in and all that, and you create your profile and the interest that you need. So from a security perspective, I might not get into the details because I'm not a techie, but the one thing I can assure all of you is that your data is safe. And Mozilla, if you care about your privacy as a user, then Pocket and Mozilla is the app that you need to be using. Thank you.
Can we go to the curator, to the curator? And because it looks as though, again, that it is something really interesting for people who want to put together particular collections that then can be out there for others to be able to consume.
Yes.
So what would be some of your pointers to a curator today to say, okay, Ndu is sitting here and thinking, all right, maybe I want to do something on history of African countries.
Absolutely.
I want to do something about famous quotes and sayings, famous traditional, things like that. How then, or what would you advise somebody to come and start putting these together? What kind of collections, what kind of pointers would you give them?
So the first pointer I would give you is you really need to be interested in that topic, because we can sense if a curator is interested in the topic or not. It's very easy because I edit those collections. It's very easy for me to pick that, okay, this is a topic that's very close to the curator's heart, or this is a topic that the curator just picked and just said, let me just do a collection for the sake of that. So first of all, you have to be very interested. And then secondly, you need to read widely. You cannot be a successful content curator if you're not a voracious reader. It goes without saying, really, because you need to give your audiences the best. If this collection, because normally we think of a collection as the collection of record, like, this, if you read on this topic, then you're very well briefed on the basics of this particular topic. So everything that makes to your collection has to be verified. You have to read so many sources and you have to verify the information yourself as a curator before I come in as an editor to also verify that information. So you have to be very well read. You have to take your time as you're putting together this collection, and also just see what other people have done. I mean, you have to see what has been covered so that you can identify the niche. And also, lastly, is make your collection multi-platform. Studies have shown, including the digital news report that was released by the Oxford University the other day, that video is actually quite picking up. People actually appreciate video. So just mix it up a little bit. Don't just give us the long reads. There is a market for the long reads. Don't just give us a Twitter thread. Include a video, include a podcast interview, because I want to interact with your collection at different levels. I want to interact with your collection when I'm driving, and I want to put on that podcast interview. I want to interact with your collection when I have 15 minutes to read and I want to read that long read. I want to interact with your collection as I have time on YouTube to watch something. So give your audiences something to write about, to something to work with. And I think collections that have that multi-platform flavor do very well.
Can a curator then also include content that they themselves have developed?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is something that we encourage. If you're a curator and you've created content on specific areas, then that sort of makes you an expert in some way, because by the time you're creating that content, we assume that there's some level of research that has gone into that.
One would hope.
Absolutely,
Yes.
one would hope. So I think it's important that, and we encourage it, so you can include 1 or 2 articles that you've written on that topic. I don't mind, as long as it's not the entire collection about your articles. I mean, that's you're self-serving.
What about copyright? How do you protect copyright in this circumstance?
That's a good question. So how Pocket works is when you save an article, you can choose to read it on Pocket, but most of the times when you save that article, when you click on that link, it takes you directly to the original content creator's website. So let me give you an example. So Muga has curated content from Ndu's website, and you're the user. So you save that collection, and then you go and click an article from Ndu's website. So it will not read, it will take you directly to her website. That's why publishers love Pocket, because they are able to understand how users are interacting with their content. So in terms of copyright, then I think that is protected. So it's not it's not about, it's not an aggregator site per se, because it allows you to consume the content in the original form and the website
and
that
does it
was
also
published in.
assign your original content some copyright protection? In other words, if I'm putting my big problem in Kenya, right?
Yeah.
Original content from me, I put it on the web, it's stolen. Does the Pocket involved in ascribing some sort of copyright?
And that's why we are talking about verifying the source of the content.
Right.
And this starts from the curator. So if I'm a curator and I curate content that has been plagiarized from someone else's website, then that's a problem. And that's why we are here to ensure that that doesn't happen, because every article that's put in our collection, we are assured that it is the original creator, and we are giving our audiences the link to the original content.
I understand that.
Yeah.
What I meant was that the almost like a mechanism for allocating, even if it's a default copyright. For example, I've just created this fantastic way for cooking chips no one's ever done before.
Yeah.
Right? I've videoed it, I've written the ground, done all of that. And I know it is. Then I come and create it in my Pocket for cooking chips. How do I still have a responsibility to go and find out of getting copyright, or is by dint of me putting in Pocket ascribe to me some copyright protection?
No, I think that's your responsibility, because Pocket is
it's functional.
It's functional. It's a but unless you get into a content creation partnership with Pocket, which is a completely different thing. That's for publishers and all that.
Oh, that's a good point to know.
That's different. Because they get into some partnerships with publishers to curate content, and then they have some sort of arrangement with that. But if I save a recipe on YouTube and I want to look at it later, it will take me directly. It will tell me that this recipe is by Wahoro. Yeah. And so in that right, all content creators can be assured that their content is safe and secure on Pocket.
Okay.
Yeah.
Looking at a commercial aspect, which you kind of, shed a little bit of light on earlier.
Yeah.
So does that possibility then exist for curators to make it, a commercial option for them as well? Can they make money as curators? Can this be, a revenue stream?
Yes, so we pay our curators. And also, if you're a content creator, you're not paid to have your content saved, because it's the audience that decides that your content is good enough to be saved. But the one thing that we've seen publishers really like and appreciate about Pocket is the number of is the sheer volume of website traffic that Pocket drives to their websites. And that's a good thing, because then you're able to understand. It's not even just from an advertiser's perspective. You're also able to understand the kind of audiences that are coming to you. And if you have audiences that are coming to you from Pocket, then you can be assured that those are audiences that will definitely come back if the level of content quality remains. So I think that's the one thing that publishers really like about it, and also the fact that it amplifies content. Imagine your article being placed among the most recommended or best of the web. That's a really good thing. And we've had publishers, even locally, we've had a lot of interest from local publishers, and we look forward to working with them to ensure that some of their content is actually amplified on Pocket.
You know what I'm thinking? If someone was looking for content for literature review,
Yes.
I'm getting the impression that Pocket would make your life much, much easier.
Absolutely. Pocket is very popular amongst academics. It's very popular. So especially when you're doing literature review on articles and all that, it's very popular. And especially if you want to do research on a particular topic, it also recommends, similar topics, articles that maybe you had not seen. So it's very good.
It
Yeah.
reminds me of this thing they call search engine optimization.
Yes.
Right? In a sense, you're going the next step of saying, Google, that's an old way of doing things. But that was more for selling websites. But if you have an idea of what you want, you do not want to go and Google. You want to go a place where there's a dedicated service for the people interested in that particular topic. Would that be correct?
Yeah, sorry, say that again.
If
She likes what you're saying. She's saying, please repeat it so that she can hear you clearly.
Absolutely, yeah, because I lost you at some point.
I'm saying normally if you're a specialist in something,
Yeah.
and you'd go to Google and Google, and then you'd come and say 2 million searches.
Yes.
No one goes past the first page, right? But now you say, because I want to do this chips recipe, I can go to Pocket and say I want to chips recipe, and everyone else who does chips recipes, who's serious about chips recipes, will be there collected together in a nice little bundle.
Absolutely.
So that's the appeal of Pocket.
Absolutely. And the fact that Pocket also allows you to tag content. So if I save an article that's about African statesmen, I don't want to play into the African dictators. Let's say African statesmen, although some could, yeah.
Statesmen after a fact.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So let's say you want to save articles on African statesmen. So you can tag your content. So when you come to your profile, you're like, okay, you might not remember the headline or the writer, but you just type African statesman, the articles that you've saved with that tag sort of come to the top
on it.
Yeah.
Pocket by Mozilla allows you to save content, come back to it at a later date, stuff that you would be interested in reading, listening to, hearing, also giving an opportunity to content creators to put together fantastic collections of stuff that you would be interested in. We're going to say goodbye to our audience on KTN Home and KTN News. The conversations continue, however, on SpiceFM as we continue and wrap up this conversation as we continue this conversation on SpiceFM later with Dr. Njoki Chege. All right. So even as we do that, Njoki, we're asking, as collections are put together, as curators come together, those who are just, we've talked about creators, but what about now the audience? The audience who now is reading, who is writing, the audience who is reading, who is storing this information later. How then do we make sure that they always find what they're looking for on Pocket?
So, like I said before, Pocket is not just an app that allows you to save. It's an app that also recommends high quality content within your interests. So as an audience, for me, I take Pocket sometimes like just the other social media apps where I just go, I'm not really saving content. I'm just looking at what other people are saving. There was a very interesting article 2 weeks ago on, it was in the New York Times, that was talking about how I became a pathological liar. It was the most saved article on Pocket. And it was in the New York Times. It was this journalist who grew up really poor, and he always found himself having to lie so that he can hide his poverty. He learned it from the mom lying to the landlord that, I've just sent your check right now, your rent check. And she's holding the check in her hand. So how he became a pathological liar, it was a very interesting article.
Yeah.
And I saw that and I was like, wow, this is interesting. So Pocket, when you're tired of these other social media apps that, sometimes can get a bit toxic.
It's a place to go.
Yeah, it gets, it's saving you from that rabbit hole of going into these social media platforms. You start seeing things that just destroy your mood all of a sudden. Pocket uplifts you because you see some interesting content, and also you look smart in front of your friends because you read. Thank you.
Dr. Njoki Chege, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thank
really
you.
Innovative stuff. Thank you so much. And we hope to, have chats on this innovation again. Dr. Njoki Chege is from the Aga Khan University Media Innovation Center. Thanks for being with us this morning.